Welcome back to the Wild Game Dynasty podcast. I am your host, Ryan, and I want to tell you right now, if you are a Michigan deer hunter, you need to stop what you are doing and turn this one up. Today's conversation is one that every single person who has ever set foot in a Michigan deer blind needs to hear. Michigan whitetail management is broken. That's not an opinion, that's a reality that hunters across the state have been living with for years. Declining deer numbers in the Upper Peninsula, predation pressure that's never been honestly addressed, a shrinking DNR budget that's left wildlife management unfunded and understaffed, and now a set of new regulatory proposals coming out of the Natural Resources Commission that have the hunting community fired up like we haven't seen in a long, long time. Today's guest has been in the middle of it all. Jordan Hoover is the Upper Peninsula Deer Advisory Chair, a man who didn't just watch these problems unfold from the sidelines, but stepped up, got into the arena, and has made it his mission to fight for Michigan hunters and for the future of the UP deer herd. Jordan brings a resolute, unfiltered passion for getting this right, and he is not afraid to name what's broken or call out the politics that have gotten in the way of sound science and real management. Today we dig deep. We're breaking down what came out of the Natural Resources Commission's May meeting, the new regulation proposals, what they mean for hunters across the state, and whether any of it actually moves the needle in the right direction. We're getting right in the politics behind these decisions, who has influence at the table, who doesn't, and what fundamental changes need to happen for Michigan to have a deer management system worthy of the hunters who fund it. This is not a comfortable conversation. It's not supposed to be. Michigan's whitetail hunters deserve honesty, and that's exactly what we're bringing you today. Jordan Hoover, welcome back. To start it, because you're a little more versed in this than I am, can you just cover the things that were guaranteed that changed this year? So, like, what were the changes they said? Was there 2 or 3 that will take effect this season? And then from there, we'll go on our rant.
Sure. Well, I think primarily the only thing really relevant to the Upper Peninsula here will be a reduction in muzzleloader season. They're going to chop that down from 10 days to 3.
Okay, that's right. Yep. So muzzleloader season was going to be, and that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right?
Right.
And then the senior crossbow, is that this year or no?
Yes, that's also in the works. What a crazy.
Could that change, though, or will they actually stick with that? Because that's insane. They have banned crossbows. They were very adamant, and I'm pretty sure the group that heavily influenced that was very adamant about never having crossbows, but then it was okay for seniors now.
Well, that's because they're seniors now.
Right, yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
It's pretty obvious.
Yeah, the crossbow.
There's no hiding it.
The crossbow being legalized for seniors in the late archery season, you're right on the money. That is another change that will impact the Upper Peninsula, which is, as you pointed out, a dramatic departure from the position of UP Whitetails, UPSA, Straits Area Sportsman's Club. They have been rabidly against crossbows in late season.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll say this. On its face, I have no problem with it.
No.
If a guy who's 65 and up wants to go out there in balls deep snow and carry a crossbow and harvest the deer and drag that sucker out, God bless you, brother. Knock yourself out. I'll help you drag it out. But that said, I have a problem with the basis of that amendment's approval, because the NRC's mandate is Prop G, the best available sound scientific evidence. And for those that listen to the commission meeting, and those of you that haven't, you should. Commissioner Eister is the one who brought that amendment forward. And as he spoke to his rationale for that amendment, he says, and I'm going to paraphrase, well, I got an email from a guy in the UP, and he's 74 years old, and he's got a bum shoulder, and gee golly, gee whiz, he sure misses bow hunting and wishes that he could use a crossbow. Mm-hmm. So I thought, why the heck not? Let's let the old guys use crossbows.
Yeah.
No data, no science, no discussion, just I got an email from one guy, and I felt emotionally compelled to make an amendment on his behalf. Mm-hmm. What a complete slap in the face for Prop G and due process.
I watched that, too, and it was kind of, I don't know, It kind of put things in perspective. Like, okay, there's obviously way more to this picture that's being shown to us, because it was almost like trying to make a Wish Foundation thing. Does anyone know that guy's name? Does it? I mean, they're literally saying this.
Is he still alive?
Yes, can we get his name? We just need to reach out. It was like, okay, so obviously there's something much bigger going on here. That
I jokingly said during that meeting, I'm like, man, I got to find out who this guy is, because I'm going to put it in his ear that we need $1.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. You gotta give that a shot.
If he's got that kind of juice, man, I need him on my team.
Yeah. It kind of seemed like it was like, okay, this is made up, and this is the punchline that they're using.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I don't have a problem with the amendment itself, and statistically, the number of people that even participate in late archery season UP-wide is laughable.
It is, yeah.
So the biological impact truly would be completely negligible. But I would have liked to have seen some due process there.
Right, and I would have liked to have seen it be, yes, everyone's allowed to do this. It made zero sense that you were restricting that tool to seniors only. And I get it. There's a lot of people that don't like crossbows technology.
Sure.
There's a big argument on technology in general as far as, is it crossing the line of fair chase? And look, the way I look at it is we have high-powered rifles. To me, it's a moot point.
Primitive weapon season is a joke anymore.
Yeah,
it's the days of black powder and cap and ball. That's all gone. We're
Yeah.
shooting 300 yards with inlines and magnum charges. Right? Like, who are we kidding? We're not putting the genie back in the bottle.
No.
And I'll admit it, I'm a little bit of a crossbow prude.
I love them.
Yeah,
They're incredible.
they're a great machine.
Yeah.
They're a great machine, and they're very effective at killing deer. Bottom line, I grew up with, I started out with the recurve, little kids recurve, went to a kid's compound. I've shot vertical bows my whole life. So to some extent, I'm like the fly fisherman of archery in a way, right? Like, that's what I grew up with, so that's what I believe archery should be. But that said, the reality is crossbows are not going anywhere.
No.
And if you look at the data nationally, the fastest growing demographic in all of hunting is female hunters using crossbows. So if you're going to wring your hands and sweat and worry about, oh my gosh, hunter numbers are going in the toilet and what are we going to do? Well, you're disallowing the fastest growing hunter demographic in the country the opportunity to hunt.
Yeah.
Okay.
It seems like suicide. But yeah, I hope it's a moot point, and I hope it's not anything that they're going to, because it's our state is a little unique. There are a lot of other states as far. I guess the biggest concern is when I was talking to Skip Sly, they kind of see it as like, well, where does it end? Like, are you going to be able to use night vision eventually and shoot deer? And I try and trust the system and say, well, that's never going to happen. But there's a lot of things that I would say that would have never happened, and they did.
Well, I think the door is going to swing open for that kind of thing in Zone 3 in Lower Michigan, and soon.
Right.
I think you're going to see night vision. I think you're going to see suppressors and thermals for crop damage shooting, at least on an entry level. That's a real conversation.
Yeah, and I think it all has to do with the politics. It's whatever politics, what they want, they'll adjust to make that happen, as far as deer and regs go.
Sure.
So as far as downstate, was that, so we got the 2 in the UP, the crossbow for seniors, the muzzleloader hunt, and then downstate, wasn't it, is the limited firearm, that's removed this year, right? That you can use any rifle now?
Their air quotes muzzleloader, not muzzleloader season is also going to be reduced from 10 down to 3 days.
Yeah, okay.
They got rid of the rifle line.
Okay, and that starts this year.
It does. It does. So whether you want to hunt with a 243 or a 338 Lapua, knock yourself out.
I mean, so that will probably change things. Maybe. I don't know.
Well, I think that's the rationale, is that if we open up the toolbox and make more tools available, that will equate to more dead deer.
which is where the night vision eventually comes in.
I don't necessarily believe that because, I mean, let's talk rationally. What percentage of hunters are taking shots beyond 200 yards on average anyway?
Right.
And a 350 Legend or 450 Bushmaster is a 200-yard gun. 50 cal muzzleloader, 200-yard gun. So you give them a 300 Win Mag, and now they're going to be able to shoot 400 and 500? Probably not.
No.
Probably not. So I don't necessarily think it directly translates to more dead deer. I think it feels good, but I think the reality is that it won't matter. It's not going to move the needle. My big concern with it, obviously, is for public safety. I think guys on private land would probably be okay. Most guys are hunting from elevated positions, whether it's a saddle, whether it's a tree stand, whether it's a tower blind they built, whatever. So most guys are shooting kind of down.
Yeah.
But public land guys, man, out there in the pumpkin patch, shit is going to get real. And I'm a little worried about that because you've got overcrowded, limited public land, and now everybody's shooting at a minimum 6.5s and 308s, right? Which is plenty to do damage. I mean, good grief, you look. A lot of people kind of sleep on the 308, right? Like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Well, the original M40A1 Marine Corps sniper rifle platform,
308 Winchester,
Remington 700 short action 308 Win. So, yeah, it is a concern, even with a 308 round, much less a 300 Win or a 7mm or something larger. I'm worried about that. I'm worried about the public safety aspect. And up here, it's different. Our hunters per square mile are dramatically lower.
Right. I think, is it, from the last stat I read, and I don't know what year this was, it was in the last 2 years, I think, but under 70,000 or around 70,000 hunters in the UP. And you're saying that we have close to 600 in the state of Michigan. So
right,
you're talking 500,000 down there and under 100,000 up here with far more public land.
Right.
So I could see it as a concern.
And we've got dynamic terrain features as well. I mean, you've hunted the backcountry of the Upper Peninsula. It's uphill, down dale, creeks, rivers, ravines.
Right,
ridge
yeah.
stacks.
I don't think about that.
Flat as hell.
Flat, yep.
Yep.
So that is, do you have any concerns of the other, like the muzzleloader? Is that going to be?
So they're trying to go the way of less is more, air quotes, by limiting the amount of time that people will have. Hopefully they're taking more does. You know, that philosophy does work in Ohio, but it's also paired with whatever, like a 5-day gun season, which we're not doing. So we're kind of, I don't know, we're trying to cobble something together and make it work that I don't necessarily think is going to have the intended results. These things are systematic. You can't take one piece of the system and plug it in and think it's going to work the same, because it doesn't.
Right, yeah.
There's complementary regulations that go along with these things to achieve the outcomes they desire. And quite frankly, nobody had the balls to move the rifle season opener or shorten rifle season, because that's sacred tradition in Michigan. Nobody wanted that smoke.
Which that's an argument in itself, is the... I kind of do believe in that philosophy. If you said, where do you stand on this? Do you think having shorter time to harvest, do you think that would be beneficial? Or do you think having all these seasons? I would be on the side of like, yeah, if you told someone you can only hunt these certain days, I think it would be beneficial. So I would sit on that. I support the 3-day sign. But the other thing is the hunting season, right? Rifle. My biggest question is having it right smack center at the peak of a rut. There's a huge biological management argument on that.
Yep.
And that's what I've always, pros and cons of that. Where do you stand on that? Because I look at it as just like, well, I mean, all the science kind of says don't do it.
Well, I mean, we'll just take my opinion out of it. Let's examine the states around us that are successful, that have a robust deer herd, that are notching B and C entries, all that kind of stuff. Whatever metrics of success you want to use, most of our neighbors are doing better than we are, bottom line. Well, what do most of those people have in common? They don't use guns in the rut.
Right.
There's a reason for that. There's logic, there's rationale, there's data that supports keeping firearms out of the rut. I mean, there's two times that you're going to have the best opportunity all year long to kill a mature buck. Number one's the first day of October, because they're still pretty much in that summer bachelor group
Surprise.
pattern. Yeah, they're going to be in the same spot at 4 o'clock every single evening for like that first week. There's a lot of big mature bucks that hit the ground that first week. Your next best chance is peak of the rut. Because they're running all over, they're stupid, they're not paying attention, and their senses aren't what they normally are. And with a rifle, you're able to take advantage of that. And you look statistically, it's like 52% of total annual harvest happens the first 2 days of firearm deer season. It's really hard to argue with the reality of that data.
Hunter success rate is through the roof if you do it like that.
Right. And you look afterwards, it drops like a stone. There's a little blip again that Thanksgiving weekend, maybe if you guys get out. But by and large, the bulk of that killing is done during the peak of the rut in 2 days. And that speaks to me. I think if you want to try to preserve more bucks and graduate more bucks to older age class, it is sensible to shorten the amount of time that we can use the most effective killing tool we have at the deer's most vulnerable stage. To me, that's logical. You know, a lot of guys out there, they're listening to this, they're pounding their fist on the table, they threw a bottle off the wall, whatever it is. It's tradition.
Right.
Well, I don't care about tradition. And here's why I don't care about tradition. Tradition is merely repeating an action over and over time. That's the definition of tradition. It doesn't imply it's correct.
Right.
You can do something incorrect over and over and over and over, which is, I feel, what we're doing.
And you have to look at why did the tradition start. It's not like they started it because this is going to be the most iconic traditional day in Michigan. No, they chose that date because that would give them the highest success of killing as many deer as possible.
Sure.
So, I mean, that's how it all came. It's not the date was never founded on a traditional like terminology. It was for higher success rate.
Right.
So when you say this though, and I kind of look at it as like this is where politics have dictated all this. It's do they want more deer to be killed? Maybe, and maybe that's why they will never change that. But there's a couple of things you said you could do. You could either shorten the season so there's less vulnerability, or move it back. Which one would be more beneficial? Not for the hunters, but for the deer herd. Moving it out of the rut, most likely, or shortening it?
Well, if I was the deer czar for a day, I would do both.
Okay.
But that being said...
Which is what a lot of states do, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of the stock standard SOP, if you will. If I had to choose between the two, I'd move it back. Give you the same amount of time if I had to, but move it back. Get it out of peak run.
Because we know how things go here. It's just, you can't go all in on anything. It's like a tiptoe.
It's hard, though, because like up here, I could make a regional argument in post-rut. Because God knows we have like 4 to 5 ruts up here because of our buck-to-doe ratios.
Yeah.
But at some point after that initial thrust and the big snow starts to drop, those bucks are on any food source they can find like flies on crap. So your probability of success if you're a bait hunter once the snow starts to drop post-rut is pretty high.
Right. Yeah. That's why muzzleloader can be very effective up here.
It is. So, I'm kind of arguing against my own point there theoretically that it may not make a difference at all to move it back if you're allowing the same amount of time. But then conversely, knowing all the damage is done in 2 days, if we shortened it to 5 days and kept it exactly where it is, well, what does that change?
Right.
Because we did the same amount of damage in 2 days.
I would also say, too, maybe the crossbows would change things with the seniors. Because if you can hunt for an extra 30 days, and I mean, they're incredibly accurate and, lethal, that could change buck demographics even worse, potentially. Now, if you're harvesting a doe and balancing things, I'd be, that's fine. But yeah, I mean, you're basically with that, you could potentially, who knows what would happen. But you're increasing firearm season by 30 days in a way.
Right.
Like most of our shots are, under 100 yards, and crossbows now can easily shoot 100 yards.
I think Raven even advertises that their effective range for hunters is like 130 yards or something.
Yeah, I have a Raven RX-10.
So you're well aware. Yeah.
They are insane. So yeah, I don't know. I mean, the regional thing, go back to that. What do you think about having different seasons throughout the state of Michigan? If you look at how large our state is, and seasonal wise, it is far different than southern Michigan up here. Mm-hmm. We left for spring break with 5 feet of snow on the ground, and going through Detroit, it's sunny and people are cutting grass and it's 80 degrees.
Right.
So, I mean, you can't say the deer heat cycles are occurring at the exact same time as UP Michigan, as southern Michigan.
Yeah, I think there's different dynamics at play, and I've been a huge advocate for a long time of a more granular approach to deer management, period.
Yeah.
Even within the confines of the Upper Peninsula, because Barriga County is not like Keweenaw County. Keweenaw County is not like Ontonagon County, is not like Menominee County. Mm-hmm. There is so much diversity, even within our own peninsula.
That's true. It's very diverse, yeah.
And it's not realistic given the dynamics of the department, how they operate, how they function, their staffing levels, and their budget to expect too granular. Mm-hmm. But I guess my disposition is, my God, we have DMUs.
Right.
Use them.
Right. So is where that would come in.
Right.
And that could be kind of a fix-all in a lot of different areas, by utilizing DMUs for regs.
The last time we had these conversations, they pretty much busted the UP into 3 quadrants based on snowfall.
Oh, that's right. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
Snowfall, low snowfall.
Yeah, okay.
Well, yeah, great.
Right.
But again, Keweenaw County isn't like Barriga County.
Right.
And we're both in the same air-cooled zone.
Yep. That is a good point, actually. And that's probably the best example of that, is our county and the Keweenaw.
Well, and if you think about this as well, DMU 007, which stretches from central Barriga County all the way over to the east side of Autrain. Mm-hmm. According to some guy in an office, all that's the same.
Right.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's even within one DMU. Mm-hmm. I've been a huge advocate for a long time of them reevaluating the DMU lines and getting more granular, creating smaller DMUs. I can take you 3 different places in Barriga County where the management could be different. Mm-hmm. We get up on the western Michigamme Highlands, Mount Arvon. The deer densities are lower. Mm-hmm. You're going to see some better bucks, but they're few and far between. Your doe numbers are low. You got to be careful there. Well, you drive over here to this side of the bay, and there's 30, 40 deer in a farm field in Pelkey every night. And well, you could thump some does and not have a problem.
Yep.
And then you get someplace like the Sturgeon Gorge. There again, deer numbers are lower. There's a lot of diversity just within our own county.
Right.
And I don't expect the DNR to manage on that level, but to bring that all back around, I do think that a more granular approach is necessary, and certainly on a statewide level. There's a lot of folks out there that say, well, broad brush management is terrible. And that was one of the pushbacks against one buck, because it was a statewide proposal, which one buck was kind of an anomaly because it worked all across the state, but for different reasons in different areas. Mm-hmm. Down in southeast Michigan, one buck works. Why? Well, because the average Michigan hunter wants 1.4 deer a year, and if you take away a buck tag, it becomes a doe.
Right.
And they need to shoot does desperately. So it incentivizes antlerless harvest there. Now, on the other end of it, you get up here in the UP, up in the copper country, whatever, where deer numbers are low, we don't have a lot of bucks, and it makes sense because we're preserving bucks, which we desperately need. So different reasons, but a successful management policy. But I think to your point, when you're talking about season dates and links and all that kinds of stuff, I think it could be tailored. It perhaps should be tailored. But the reality is I don't see the department going that direction.
Right. It's not high on the priority list, but it's stuff that would be nice to have changed to increase the if our goal is to increase the the health of the herd, that would be on the agenda of like, yeah, we should look into how this would benefit. Okay. Well, so then I guess we'll go into what actually happened after, the 2026. We covered those, but now the 2027 decisions, as far as they went to $1 for the Lower Peninsula and then maintained no change in the UP, remaining with $2 tags. Mm-hmm. So where do we go from there? Why did that happen, and why? Because everyone's thought after that was, well, at least if you're in the UP, which sucks here because we're only 3% of the entire state's population. We're severely underrepresented. Mm-hmm. We're so far from Lansing that they're just like, yeah, we'll do whatever we want. They're not going to do anything kind of thing. But it was our own people that wanted this.
Correct.
It was the hunting community that made this happen. And I think everyone's biggest concern here is you're given 2 buck tags up here and 1 down there. What's stopping everyone from coming up here and shooting another buck? You know what I mean? And it's like, this is suicide. And you can only think of 2 things. It's like, well, this group of people, that's their selfish needs and what they wanted. And the state goes, well, yeah, we don't care. We don't. As far as politics go in Michigan, they are 100% behind the current administration would be to kill every deer. With that said, they also are more prioritized over money. Mm-hmm. So most of the population's downstate. They give them the $1, so it's like, hey, this is like, it's kind of like it was 50-50, maybe not. We're satisfying a group, but we're keeping it up there. So those who didn't like the $1, well, we're still giving you a chance to go shoot your second one, and now we get paid. That's how I analyzed all of it. I'm like, all right, great. Right. It was all at the detriment of our deer here.
Absolutely.
Which I had a problem with because that's where we live.
Well, I don't know if you listened to my commission speech or not.
Oh, I was there. I wasn't there. I watched the whole thing.
Okay. Well, yeah. I kind of, when there's 5 hours of public comment, mm-hmm. the last thing you want to do in front of the commission is get up there and be like, well, according to the data in Ohio and Pennsylvania and Indiana,
right?
Because they've heard it 55 times already.
Yeah.
They know. You got to do things that catch them off guard. And, I knew going into that meeting that there'd been some dirty deeds done behind closed doors, and I was going to blast them. Mm-hmm. Some guys get all nervous. They go up there in front of the commission and they lose their mind. They're not used to public speaking or whatever.
Yeah.
I've been doing this a long time, and I'm perfectly comfortable holding a bunch of power drunk bureaucrats to the fire, mm-hmm. which is what I did. And I kind of had some fun with the opening. I did my little mock Survivor Jeff Prost intro.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
Which was funny, but the parallels are disturbing, mm-hmm. Which I pointed out. And in the course of my speech, I said it plainly. I said, "You're a board of pimps, and you're prostituting our herd." Mm-hmm. And I very much feel that way here in the Upper Peninsula. We don't matter. Mm-hmm. We don't matter. We have one commissioner from the UP serving on a 7-member commission. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you it goes like this. Well, hey Dave, what do your guys up there want?
Right.
Well, they want this. Oh, okay, well, we'll do that.
Yeah.
That's as far as it goes. They don't give a damn. They don't. Like you pointed out, we're 3%. We don't matter. In license sales, we don't matter.
Right.
Our deer population is struggling, but the amount of monetary investment, time, energy, resources, manpower it would take to make it right isn't something they're interested in because the ROI isn't there. Mm-hmm. There's been people within the department that have told me, point blank, maybe the best thing that could happen for the UP is the whole damn thing collapses.
Right.
As far as the deer herd. Mm-hmm. A hard reset. And I guess we'll stick to the UP side of this first, and then we can hit the LP side if you want. Status quo for the UP was a low blow. I've been contacted by guys all over the state of Michigan, from the southeast, from the northwest, from the UP, and they all said the same thing. They're like, Jordan, explain to me why the place with all the deer can only shoot one buck, and the place with no deer can shoot two. Make it make sense.
I know that's everything we've all been thinking.
It's ridiculous, even on its face. To a layman that hasn't spent 5 minutes with any data, it's simple.
I know.
It's intuitively obvious to even a casual observer. And yet here we are. Mm-hmm. And, you know, when Commissioner David Nyberg, our UP commissioner out of Marquette, presented his amendment for status quo for the UP, he took a few minutes to share his rationale with those in attendance. And a lot of it centered around tradition and hunter opportunity. Those were the words that he used. And he talked about our traditions being, air quotes, unique to the UP. Mm-hmm. There's people that have deer camps in lower Michigan. That's not unique.
Right. No, yeah.
Do we have a long storied hunting tradition in the Upper Peninsula? Yes, we do. Mm-hmm. I think we also have that statewide.
Right.
Really.
It was just the deer herd down there died off, and they came to the UP and ended up being a paradise. And
Sure.
And then it's now reversed, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, it was garbage. Everything that came out of his mouth was garbage. And, again, going back to what I said earlier, the commission's mandate is Prop G of 1996 to make all their wildlife decisions based on the best available sound scientific evidence, end quote. I didn't hear science. I didn't hear data. I heard feelings. I heard social perception. I heard
money. That's all I heard. I feel like every decision was based off money.
So there was no scientific rationale to do what was done. As far as I'm concerned, Prop G was violated. And, you know, if I had a huge war chest of money, I'd probably file a lawsuit, to be honest with you.
Well, yeah.
That being said, lucky for them, I don't have that kind of money. But I think it should sit Michigan sportsmen up in their chairs, and they should look at that real hard and go, holy cow, that was bad. That was really bad. To your point, maybe they're talking about the economic benefit, right? Because whenever they talk about a decision and you chastise them for it, they always hide behind, well, you know, it's economic science. Well, it's political science. Well, it's social science. Well, it's this kind of science. It's that kind of science. Here's where I'm at. Biological science.
Right.
Ecological science. That's the mandate. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't consider economic impact or we shouldn't consider social impact, but those are tertiary and those are minor because our duty is to the resource, not to the hunter. And I've said this on many other podcasts. I'll say it again here today. When you put the hunter first, you destroy the resource. Period. When you prioritize the management of the resource for health, longevity, and vitality, the hunter benefits by default every single time.
Right.
Period. So, are we doing that? No.
And I kind of look at that economic value too. Is do you invest short term or long term? It's a long term thing, and you make more money. That's been a thing forever. So if you made a healthier deer population, then yes, down the road you're going to have far more of an economic impact. So you'll have more hunters there.
Well, let's be realistic. Most of our bucks in the state of Michigan don't see their third birthday. And I would say that's equally true here in the Upper Peninsula for different reasons. Like downstate, it's sheer volume of hunters that are killing bucks, right? And I-75 and everything else.
Right, yeah.
EHD, CWD. But up here, just the conditions, the winters, the saturation of apex predators is brutal. And our hyper imbalance in buck to doe ratio, these bucks are run ragged going into the teeth of winter with no fat reserves. I mean, every card in the deck is stacked against you if you're a UP buck. And I'm not going to say there's not some old ones out there, but most of them are in the southern portion of the UP.
Right, yeah. Delta, Menominee, Dickinson County.
So that being said, when you look at, let's talk about it from a business sense, because let's be real honest, to some extent, deer are a business in the state of Michigan.
Oh,
They
for
are.
sure, yeah.
No one from Rochester Hills is getting in their car, paying $300 in fuel, driving all the way up here to the Northwest UP because what's in their mind is, gee golly, I hope that 5-pointer comes in at 8 a.m. on the 15th. No one is doing that. Unless you're a person that has family here, right? And you're coming home to hunt with grandpa, with dad, with your brothers, whatever. There's some of that, right?
Or they haven't sold their family camp off yet.
Yeah, there's
still have
a small percentage of people that are going to come home to the UP to hunt every single year. I acknowledge that. But broad spectrum, we are not putting a quality product on the table. People are not coming here to hunt anymore. They are leaving. And if you drive west-east across the UP, you see all the skeletal remains of all the old mom-and-pop's businesses on the roadside. The gas stations, the liquor stores, the bait shops, the pasty places, whatever it is. The windows are boarded up, the roofs are falling in. Those days are gone here. And I don't know who we're bullshitting, trying to say that, well, it's good for the economy.
Right.
Our hunting economy died.
Right. It died. The only economy we have left is our recreation in the summer.
Correct.
And that's largely non-hunting people.
Right. You get your fall color tour, your winter snowmobilers, but hunting-driven economy is completely in the toilet. Well, put a quality product on the table. What? And people are going to say, aha, he's a trophy hunter. He's about big bucks. Well, let's cut the crap. If you have a 4-point and a 12-point standing next to each other, which one are you going to shoot? Come on. Come on. So, to some extent, antler motivates everybody. And nobody gets out of bed with their heart pounding out of their chest on a cold November morning hoping for the 4-point. It's dreams of the 30-point buck, as the Upers say. And there's nothing wrong with that. We should not demonize that. There's no problem with that. That's a reality. And a quality product is an older, mature buck. Bottom line. That's what drives the industry. That's what drives hunters. That's what gets the guy in Rochester Hills in his car to come to the UP to hunt. Because he's got a cell cam photo of a deer on his property that's 130 inches, and it's a jet black swamp ghost.
Yeah.
That gets his heart pounding. He's showing all of his buddies. It doesn't matter what the cost is. He wants the opportunity to come to the wilderness of the Upper Peninsula to hunt that animal. We can't provide that right now. We can't. So I don't know what economic opportunity these guys are talking about.
Right.
And to your point, by 27, we're going to be the only place in the state where you can kill 2 bucks.
Yeah.
Theoretically. Like, our herd is struggling, so what do? We want to increase the pressure on an already struggling buck cohort.
During peak rut.
During peak rut with firearms in exchange for a few dollars. And I said it this way, which is kind of, backhanded or whatever, but I think it's humorous, but it drives the point. Yeah, we'll trade you our herd for a couple cases of Busch Light.
Right, yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're prostituting our resource. We're not being stewards. This isn't conservation. Not by any stretch. Now, there's people listening to this. They're going to say, well, you just said nobody's going to come up here to hunt bucks. Yeah, I did say that.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But here's the thing.
Yeah, it's at a cost.
I'm not saying the guys from Southeast Michigan are going to do it. The guys from the northern lower, that's a stone's throw. That's an easy hunt. Especially you get a few guys in the truck and you're splitting fuel, it's not so bad, right?
Right.
I think we're going to see a huge influx of guys from the northern lower, at least eastern and central Upper Peninsula, more than likely. And I think those places are going to pay a price. It's going to be bad. That second buck tag is such a powerful motivator, and I don't really understand the infatuation myself.
It's because you have it, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if you fill with a doe, right, during archery, then it just kind of, it's not even a thought in our heads, but for those that won't harvest a doe, for them, their mindset is, well, I've got it.
Right.
Oh, I would not.
Got to go get my Upper buck now.
Yeah. So, yeah. So talking this over, it's not till 2027. What do you think right now, if you could, and this is probably an impossible question to ask, what are the chances that it actually stays? Like they have the one buck down in the the lower peninsula, and we'll talk about that next, but just percentage-wise, what do you think 2027 the UP has a 2 buck tag? Stays status quo. I mean, right now, it's like technically 100% because that's what they ruled on. But in reality, that's a long time from now.
I think the desire of the UP stakeholder groups, UP Whitetails, UPSA, Straight Area Sportsmen, to maintain that status quo is quite concrete.
Mm-hmm.
If I have anything to say about it, I'm going to flip it on its head, and I'd like to think I have a little to say about it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's going to take some war in the trenches to get this done. It's a flip of the coin, Ryan. It really is.
Okay. That's kind of what I was looking at. I would say, if you asked me today, 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
A 50-50. It'd have to heavily to do with the NRC board members. They're not going to all be the same next year.
Well, by January, you're going to be looking at 4 to 5 new commissioners.
Right. So, I mean, that right there is like, okay, well,
all bets are off.
Right. That's it gives me the smallest glimmer of hope as far as, will the politics change? No. Will that anything change like that? No, not until something is, like we talked about before, but a reform,
mm-hmm.
right? But it could maybe have, since we'd have new people voting, it could change the 2 bucks. So yeah, I would agree I'd say 50-50 from right now, looking forward.
Well, and that's some of the guys in the lower peninsula, they get a little bit bent because they're like, oh yeah, we won. We got $1.
Mm-hmm.
We're sorry for you guys up north, but man, we won.
Right.
No, you didn't.
Mm-hmm.
No, you didn't. What you got was a
An
smile and a promise for a year from now.
And I heard earn a buck. That's all I heard.
Yeah, earn a second buck also. Like, that's a whole other mess we can get into. But Lower Peninsula guys didn't win either, because they got a handshake promise for 2027 from people who aren't even going to be here.
Right.
Right? How can you guarantee that? You can't. You can't guarantee that. And what we know historically with Michigan deer regs is the commission can't keep their hands out of the cookie jar more than a year at a time.
Right.
Which is the bane of the DNR's existence, because from a scientific perspective, they're like, for the love of God, please make a regulation and leave it alone for 3 years so we can measure the data.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what's working and what isn't when every single year you guys are changing shit. Which, it's a fair argument.
And so would you say then the Lower Peninsula didn't win, even though they got $1? So I'm like thinking, well, yeah, I guess you guys won, we lost. But you're saying they didn't win because it didn't get initiated this season. Is that
right?
Okay.
I have never, in the span of the time I've been doing this work, I have never seen a post-dated amendment survive. Never.
Okay.
And I'll give you a recent history example. Last year, Commissioner John Walters brought forward an amendment that would have made the youth hunt antlerless only. It survived 6 weeks.
Yeah, I was going to say it did get passed.
It did.
But then come June or July when I got the actual reg book, I was like, oh, I swear they passed it, and it was just gone.
Right.
So, okay, that's a good point.
That's last year that happened. That was an amendment that was passed by the commission. We're doing this. And, well, maybe we're not doing this. So until the gavel comes down next May,
right,
your guess is as good as anybody else's.
Okay.
And all bets are off. And that's where I'm concerned on an advocacy level. You know, I understand not everybody is a total deer nerd like I am. Like, I eat this stuff all year long. I love it. I love what I do. And that's not the vast majority. Like, there's guys that plugged in for the last 2 months when everything was real hot and heavy with the $1 discussion. And that pretty much exhausted the average Michigan hunter's attention span, 60 days. And now they're like, oh, all this buck stuff is over. Great. No, it's not.
No, yeah.
No, it's not. And when everybody walks away, that gives carte blanche to a bunch of power-drunk bureaucrats to write their own ticket. Because you're not there to check them.
Yep.
And, you know, it was a really beautiful thing what happened, even though this didn't work out the way we wanted. because, I mean, I'm pretty sure we broke the NRC attendance record with the amount of hunters that we packed in there, and we had engaged. Myself and a circle of other guys that I work with, we worked really hard through social media platforms, through podcasts to get the word out and to leverage people to come and engage in the process. And they did that. But even in huge numbers, which I think we had like 350 people at the April meeting, which was smoking.
Wow. Okay.
Smoking, when the average is 20 or 30.
And that was down in Lansing, too. That wasn't even in Gaylord on the May one.
Yeah, the April one was in Lansing, yeah.
Wow, that's impressive.
So even with that, 350 hunters, we have 600,000 hunters in the state of Michigan. You are talking about less than 1/2 of 1%.
Yeah, that's true.
That showed up.
Right.
And I'm not shaming people, right? I mean, it's a big ask, especially for us Yoopers. I mean, the fuel costs, you got to go all the way down the night before because the commission meeting starts at 9 a.m.
And
on Wednesday.
That May meeting, I think it was like $5 a gallon, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I paid $5 at the bridge.
It was bad.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I got it in the shorts for that. But it's a huge financial ask. It's 2, if not 3 days off of work. People can't do it. They can't do it. But the problem becomes, if we don't have a strong showing, we're not listened to.
Right.
We just packed 350 people in there, and they slapped us in the face. That's a problem.
It's a reality.
Right.
It was a big reality check.
So for the LP, $1.27, and let's get into the earn a second buck issue.
Yeah, we'll talk about that a little, and then we'll go into the politics viewpoint. And
So earn a second buck. The first time we heard it was about a month and a half before the May meeting. And it was just kind of a whispered rumor. So me and a couple other guys, as soon as we heard earn a second buck, we're like, holy crap, what's going on here?
right.
So we called a couple commissioners and we're like, hey, we're hearing A, B, and C from some credible sources. What's going on? Oh, no. It was just side conversation, just purely hypothetical. No. Okay. All right. Took it at face value. Well, that was dumb. So you fast forward the tape to the Friday before the May commission meeting, which was the final vote on deer regs. And Commissioner John Walters reached out to a couple of us and said on no uncertain terms, and I quote, "We're screwed." What do you mean? He says, they're going to earn a second buck for the whole LP, status quo for the UP. They got the votes. There's nothing I can do. And if we've got a shot at turning this ship, it's up to you boys. You got to use your social media reach, your podcast, get the word out, blow the lid off the trash can and dump it on the table because that's the only shot. And we're just, that blew our hair back. Like, where did this come from?
Where did it come from? Where, at least the second buck. I kind of know about the other stuff, but earn a second buck.
So there was legislative influence there, and
so it's a money thing.
There was also a particular commissioner that was pushing very hard for that is very good friends with the DNR director as well.
Yeah, well,
we'll get into that later.
Yeah, we'll save that for our politic talk.
But so we did. I mean, and thank God for Commissioner John Walters and Jim Laporte also. He wasn't supportive of this. They blew the whistle. They didn't think it was proper that the commission blindsides the public with a major buck regulation shift.
Right, yeah.
Days prior to when everyone's expecting a vote on $1 buck.
Yeah, the biggest complaint's no transparency.
Bingo.
To just increase it, and yeah.
Yeah, so hats off to John Walters and Jim Laporte. God bless them. They're the only commissioners sitting there that have any integrity. And so anyway, we told them, we're like, John, if we push the big red button, like there's no going back from this politically for you.
Right.
Because we can't just go out here on a limb and say, well, we heard, and start spreading rumors. Like, we need to be able to substantiate what we're saying, that this is a credible threat.
Fair enough, yeah.
And John didn't hesitate. He says, fine.
Wow.
Say that I told you. Balls of steel. Balls of steel.
And what's his background? When did he get hired into the commission?
He's been on and off the commission a couple of different times now. But he's a businessman.
Okay.
He spent some time out west and ended up coming back home and getting reappointed to the commission. But yeah.
He's a hunter. Deer hunter.
He is, yeah.
Okay.
No, deer hunter, trout fisherman.
You got to ask. I mean, not all of them are.
No, you're absolutely right. Oh, and then there's the token deer hunter, right? That takes their photo with their shotgun and their camo smiling, but they don't actually.
Correct.
Yeah. So anyway, we got off the phone and we pushed the big red button, man. Like calling in all the combat aircraft, stack them up to 30,000 feet and let it drop. We did podcast, blew the lid off of it. And that actually did end up impacting what the commission did. Like I said, the original proposal would have been for the whole LP to be earned a second buck. And by the time 5 days later we got to the May 13th vote, it was, oh, no. Well, these are just proposed, test areas, isolated test areas. That's all. Well, that was bullshit. But the public didn't know that.
Right.
Some of these things the public will never know.
Right.
But so they're proposing these test areas, and they don't know where the test areas are going to be because they haven't decided yet.
Right. We'll vote on that in June.
Yeah, we're going to push this reg through because we think it's great, and nobody asked for it. None of the stakeholder groups, none of the sportsmen, nobody asked for this. But we think it's good, so we're going to do it, and we'll figure it out later.
Right.
Kind of like, under the Obama administration, the, 8 million page omnibus bill, and don't worry.
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
You don't have time to read it, just pass
all
it.
the
You can read it later.
earmarks, yeah.
Yeah, right. What are we doing here?
Yeah.
So that was a total sham. What a joke. They tried to pull a fast one on the hunting public. They got caught. Now, the interesting part about earn a second buck, I don't think they could legally do it.
Okay, yeah, let's get into that part.
So one of the things that sportsmen don't think about when they hear earn a second buck is the fact that your $40 combo tag now becomes $60 if you want $2.
If you're legally going to and put that as an effective reg.
Right, because your combo would be $1, one doe.
Yep.
And you're going to have to validate the doe kill to be eligible to purchase the additional $20 buck tag.
Okay, yeah.
So now it's $60 instead of $40. Well, the commission doesn't have the legal authority to establish new licenses and fees. That authority belongs to the legislature. So I'm really unclear as to if they can do that. But the other really interesting part is in the background of all this for months, there's been ongoing debate and political battle over the prospect of a license fee increase for the DNR.
Yes. Big battle.
Yeah.
Whitmer wants to increase and fund conservation. And what I read was Republicans are absolutely against that, 100%. But they are also for decreasing conservation officers, essentially.
Yeah. So just related to the license fee increase, Senator John Cherry was the driver for the Senate bill that would have accomplished that goal. And there's some nifty language tucked into the license fee increase that would enable an earn a second buck system. Why would we need legislation if the commission had the authority to do it? That seems odd.
Right.
So there again, my question is, does the commission have the authority? Because apparently a legislature doesn't think they do.
I think whoever's in charge and however bad or motivated they are, they'll make sure they have the authority to do it.
Right. We'll write it on a bar napkin and we'll whiz that sucker through.
Well, the way I look at it is this, the easy argument for the agenda now for, I would say, the current commission, if they want to push that earn a second buck, they would just argue, well, we're not forcing you to purchase that extra license, so technically we're not increasing the fee.
Right.
But in a way, saying that Michigan is a earn a buck state, you could, another legal person could argue, well, no, you're writing this in as a law that it's an earn a buck state, which would force someone to purchase that license, which would be an increase. You could argue either way, and whoever's in charge will argue it the way that will benefit them. Is the way I look at it.
Well, the other twist I would put into that is in Southeast Michigan in particular, they've been very clear. We want hunters to kill more deer.
Right.
That is the stated goal. Kill more deer, period. So you are trying to incentivize people to purchase a second buck tag. You've said so.
Right. Yeah. You could argue whatever position, whoever is in charge. I get it.
Yeah. But
that bill, back to the bill. You say John, who was in charge?
Senator John Cherry piloted that bill.
Okay. And now, so that, going to just cover that passed the House? Not passed the House.
Nope. The House would rather chop off their own left foot than pass that license fee package. The House GOP is adamantly and permanently against license fee increase for the DNR.
Okay.
They're not gonna.
So that will not change until, because this year is an election year.
Correct. That's the other complicating factor, which we'll get to later.
Okay. Yeah.
But real quick, let's dive into earn a second buck as far as the biological level and the management intent.
Go for it.
So I hate it. I detest it. And if you look at all the deer management systems that are utilized throughout the entire country, there's only one state in the continental U.S. that utilizes earn a second buck, which is the state of Virginia. And it's a hot mess. You talk to their biologists there, and they're not a fan. They've got a non-compliance problem with reporting, the ghost does, all that sort of stuff. It's not effective. And there's no other state to compare to because nobody else uses a broad spectrum. That alone demonstrates that the educated community of deer biologists nationwide does not endorse this system.
Right. There's been a lot of attempts of states, around, and that obviously didn't keep doing it.
If it worked, more people would be doing it.
Right.
So somebody out there listening to this is going, oh, he's full of crap because Indiana uses earn a second buck. Well, sort of. They have isolated areas, which are their highest car-deer collision areas in the state. And I think it's like a half mile either side of the road. Those areas are highly policed, highly regulated, and it's mandatory check.
Right.
So it works for those specific
concentrated areas. Which we've done in Michigan.
And I think that's what they're trying to emulate, but I don't think that's their intent. It's the launch pad for a broad spectrum whole LP usage, which I and everybody else with a brain has a problem with.
Yeah, that would never.
Biologically, I don't care if you're in zone 3 or if you're in zone 1, we have a huge sex ratio imbalance. Nobody wants to shoot does, so the doe numbers are climbing. Everybody's pounding bucks, so the doe numbers are dropping, right? It's common sense. If you expressly target one sex, you have less of that sex and more of the other sex.
Yeah, it is literal common sense.
Right. So the NRC at the April meeting set forward some deer management goals that they themselves agreed they were going to strive to achieve through implementing regulation. So one of those was increasing the age structure of bucks. Another one of those was bringing balance to sex ratios.
Right.
So let's just take those 2 bullet points. If we're still killing 2 bucks, how are we graduating more bucks to an older age class? We didn't change anything. We just put a fresh coat of paint on the skunk and called it a raccoon.
Right.
Number 2, how are you addressing sex ratio imbalance issuing tags 2-to-1 for males versus females? You're not. So that regulation stands in total contradiction to the very bedrock principles that they themselves agreed to in April. It's total hypocrisy. Nobody's pointing that out.
No. I've always, the whole earn a buck thing it's been seen in certain municipalities, right, throughout Michigan, where they had like inner cities, where you've had bad deer problems. So archery only has to be elevated, so your safety, it's not like you're shooting down on Main Street, right? It's within city limits. So this thing has been tried, like you said before, and even that, it didn't. Even in the UP, it was either Iron Mountain or it didn't work. And then, I mean, I'm not saying like it didn't work as far as like people being honest goes, right? Because that was mandatory reporting. It didn't work in the regard that it didn't solve their deer problem.
Right.
But if you try and implement this statewide, right, first off, we don't do mandatory reporting anymore. It's in person.
Right.
That's gone. All they talk about is DNR budgets, gone. Can't do this, can't do that, can't do this.
The DNR is out and out said they don't have the staff to do it.
Yeah, that will never happen. So if we've already proved that we are not willing to shoot does in Michigan, that's kind of said and done. It is what it is. Why would this possibly work with people being honest about reporting a doe?
Well, it's interesting because they'll defend this and they'll say, well, we as commissioners believe, in Michigan sportsmen and that they're going to do the right thing by majority because they're good, honest folks. And then on the other side of that, you'll have some clown like Commissioner Eister who opens right up and calls Zone 3 hunters slobs.
I know,
and
that was
says,
wild.
Well, I'm afraid to even walk to my deer stand in the dark of the morning for fear of being shot and all these crazy things. Out of the other side of the mouth, oh, no, we believe they'll do what's right. Really? No, you're just trying to justify your BS.
I mean, I would rather them keep 2 buck tags than go to earn a buck.
I think most people would favor status quo over earn a second buck. And if there's one thing we know about Michigan hunters, God love us, we don't want to pay a dime more.
Right. Yeah.
It's $20 more for that second buck now. We're going to gouge you. Nobody wants that.
No.
Nobody wants that. But the ghost doe issue is a very real problem that I think people underestimate, and they kind of shrug their shoulders and go, well, it's not going to be that big a deal, is it? Yes. Yes, it is. Without mandatory check, the honor system falls flat on its face.
Right.
We already have, air quotes, mandatory harvest check-in. Okay, whether you shoot a buck, whether you shoot a doe, it doesn't matter. We know that statewide noncompliance hovers around 30%. 1 in 3 Michigan hunters is already lying.
Yep.
And we know 80% of Michigan hunters in 2025 did not shoot a doe. I don't like the odds.
I don't like the odds because that now, their mandatory system with technology, that's the DNR's number one tool. That's it. This harvesting data that they collect that goes into software, that's their number one tool for managing. And the more lying and misreporting that goes on there is going to lead further and further from actuality and sound judgments.
Oh, it'll bias the data to the point where it's garbage.
Exactly. And it's like, what are we doing?
Right. And then how do you make a sound scientific, data-driven decision when you know that your data is completely corrupt? You may as well put a blindfold on, throw darts at a dartboard. But there's been different things rolled around. Like some of the commissioners say, well, we're going to require people to take a photo of their doe. Yeah, okay. So then you're going to have a software program, an AI algorithm that's going to screen all these photos for duplicates, for AI-generated photos, for any discrepancies. Who's going to do that? Where does that funding come from?
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
It's impractical.
Yeah, there's so many. You could say, well, no, it's just not going to happen.
One of the commissioners even went so far as to suggest that they were going to require the hunters to save the doe head, and that COs would be required to go and meet these people, these hunters, and validate the doe head.
I mean, if a commissioner actually said that, I would be like, just disband the entire NRC. If they're that unintelligent or that lack that amount of common sense,
they are. That's the problem. I would
say it's gone. It's gone.
I mean, we don't even have enough COs to do the job that they're tasked with.
No, not even close.
Right. And we already talked about the first 2 days of firearm deer season. 52% of total annual harvest happens.
Right.
I don't care if you had 10,000 COs, you could never keep up.
No.
Ever.
Not even close. Law enforcement officers, and this was a while ago, but it's essentially across America 1,000 to 1, right? There is one police officer per 1,000 individuals in America, and it's probably worse than that now. This is a little bit ago. You want to do that to conservation officers? It's even worse than that.
Right.
You got one or two in a county.
Stick your finger in the crack in the dam and hold your breath.
Right. Yeah, that would never happen.
But yeah, for all those reasons, earn a buck is it's not biologically appropriate. It's not consistent with the goals that the commission themselves already set forth. Mm-hmm. And it's completely impractical on an enforcement side.
Yeah.
That falls flat on its face, and that is nothing but an attempt to revenue. Mm-hmm. Period. And as I mentioned, there's some political underpinning there. Senator John Cherry had language in that bill for earn a second buck. Commissioner Pete Erdley has been very, very public in his support for earn a second buck. And Commissioner Erdley happens to be really good friends with, drumroll, DNR Director Scott Bowen. Oh, and it almost feels to me as if, you House Republicans aren't going to give us a license fee increase, huh? Well, we're just going to end around you then because we're going to put this reg in that makes us more money.
Right. Which is all it is. When it comes to, we'll kind of start leading into the politics here, but as far as Michigan goes, in my opinion, we have gone down a very long, horrible, awful political road for decades and decades. As far as conservatism goes, that's pretty much where I stand, right? We've never had a Governor DeSantis, right, or a Governor Reagan. Michigan has had a pretty crap draw, and then as far as it goes on the left, when Biden, the way I look at it is we kind of took a turn for like California style when Whitmer came in.
Oh yeah,
right. Biden was looking for a running mate. And basically, Whitmer's like, I'm going to be the most crazy leftist I can because I want that VP. And she didn't have to pretend. Let's be realistic. But whatever the case, I'm trying to paint the picture here. Michigan politics, our state is very liberal right now, very liberal. So my concern is unless that changes, I don't really see as much. And it sucks because it's so weird. We largely pride ourselves on being Republican. Majority of us are. How is it that it's so divided within this, like, I would call us Christian conservative majority people, and then we can't come together and try and battle this? We're already outnumbered. We're 3% of the state's population. I'm not just saying the UP is, but as far as the numbers go, hunters in Michigan is only like 3%. 2 to 3%. I'm telling you, 98 to 97% of the state doesn't even hunt.
Right.
And we're shooting ourselves in the foot doing this. And that's what sucks when you have groups that are willing to justify this hunting group. We'll just use the crossbow thing, for instance, in the Upper Peninsula, because that's what hits home for me, is you have this group that I would probably align with these people very politically, like Christian values, Republican, most likely. And you want to do something like that, like crossbows only for seniors. Make it for everyone at least, but you're kind of putting yourself in a predicament to where it's like we don't support you kind of thing. It's like, no, it's our way or the highway. And I'm like, we pride ourselves on having logic and common sense. Why are you getting rid of that?
Well, it's really interesting. I did a podcast probably over a year ago now with Nate Roosevelt. He used to do Michigan Gone Wild, but he's with Rome Syndicate now.
Okay.
And I talked about something called deer dogma.
Yeah.
We all grow up kind of assimilating the values, ethos, and strategies of our fathers, of our grandfathers. That's imbued into us. And that's not to say we're brainwashed and incapable of having a logical, rational conversation and analyzing the facts and adapting our tactics. Of course we are.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we build off that base platform culturally. And let's just talk about the UP, right?
Yeah.
Papa says, we don't shoot does.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Papa's wrong.
Right.
Papa's absolutely wrong. But don't you dare tell little Timmy Papa's wrong, because Papa walks on water.
Mm-hmm.
Papa's not wrong. How do you fight that battle?
Right.
It's a cultural belief.
Generational thing, too. It's like, how long will that linger for?
Well, let's say it exactly how it is generational ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying stupidity. There's a difference between stupidity and ignorance. I said ignorance.
And ignorance is bliss.
Right.
Yeah.
Ignorance is simply the absence of an education on whatever the subject matter is.
That's all it is, yep.
So I'm not demeaning people. I'm saying they don't know what they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people. I took a lot of heat over bringing back Doe with the Bow up here. Like, oh my God, Jordan, you're going to destroy the deer herd. This is the apocalypse. Well, then the numbers came back after the first year, and it comes out to this: we killed 0.06 does per square mile.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was going to say, it didn't affect anything.
We did nothing.
Yeah.
And we provided opportunity for people that wanted to put meat on their family table instead of feeding wolves. Win-win.
Right.
But that deer dogma that people are imbued with, they cling to that desperately. It's the same thing. We talk about going to $1. Oh, no. Well, why not? Mm-hmm. Well, tradition. Yeah, but the facts dictate we need to change. Mm-hmm. And there are people who will look you in the eye and listen to the data, listen to you recount real world evidence, and completely stonewall you.
Right.
It's hard to have a conversation with people like that, honestly, because if we're not going to be intellectually honest, it's not a conversation at all. Mm-hmm. It's not. And, let's flip this all on its head. Forget about Doe with the Bow. Forget about $1. In the last 25 years, has the herd improved? Is it healthier? Is it more robust? Are we seeing better bucks? Are we seeing better sex ratios? Are we seeing more deer? No. And no. We're not getting better. Mm-hmm. We're getting worse. But we refuse to change because of our deer dogma. And one of the answers I get all the time is, well, the wolves. Mm-hmm. We got to shoot the wolves. Well, here's the reality of that. If we killed every last wolf in the Upper Peninsula tomorrow, would deer hunting in the UP be better? Yes.
It would be temporarily, yeah. So the big thing is, I'm not a believer on this whole weather thing, because guess what? The weather's been there forever. It's the food source that has changed. Of all the factors, right?
Winter habitat. Yep.
Yeah. So, sure, is weather a factor? Yeah, it's only a factor because there's no food. Mm-hmm. All right, a deer can survive in the winter if it's severe, if they have the food for it. Mm-hmm. So like you said, if you do kill all the wolves, whatever, sure, it's short term. They'll be good, really good. Right. And then they'll eat themselves out of even more.
So the following year, when we have this deer boom,
right,
because we shot all the wolves,
we'll have a higher fawn,
we're going to have numerically a lot more deer on the landscape. Mm-hmm. And let's say, just for grins, we shot all the coyotes too. Whatever. Mm-hmm. Everything with tooth, fangs, and claws, we kill them all. Mm-hmm. Those deer numbers are going to surge. And everybody's going, well, yeah, no kidding. The problem is you're not going to carry them through the first winter.
Right, yeah.
Because, as you pointed out, there's not enough food, there's not enough shelter.
Yeah.
And there's only so many rooms in the cargo hold on Noah's Ark
when
snow comes. And all the rest of them are going to die.
And I'll say this, in a perfect scenario though, you could make it work if we killed, almost all those deer to where we left just the carrying capacity of the land, right? But that's never.
Well, that's the uncomfortable conversation, right? Because
we don't kill enough deer. People
will say, "Oh my gosh, there's no deer. There's no deer." I would tell you we're at, if not above, carrying capacity slightly in most of the UP, based on and specifically on the condition of winter habitat.
Right.
if we could have more deer, we would. Bottom line. And when you look at the parallel with the wolf population, right? And people are going to push back on this. Oh, the DNR is lying. Well, whatever. Maybe they are. Maybe they aren't. But what we know is that the minimum population estimate for wolves that's published has been fairly consistent over the last 8-10 years.
Well, that minimum, though, is changed.
It has.
The goalpost has moved a lot. It was originally 200.
Oh, I'm not talking about a recovery metric.
Oh, okay.
Just what their population, minimum population estimate level is fairly consistent over the last decade.
Yeah, it has, yeah. If they're telling the truth.
If they're telling the truth.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
So, and I would believe that. Mm-hmm. And I would believe that for the reason that the wolves themselves have hit carrying capacity. Mm-hmm. They've saturated the habitat to their threshold. We can't fit more wolves. We have our maximum amount of wolves. So when you see that happen, you also know that your prey population is steady. Mm-hmm. Because if the prey population drops, what follows it? The wolf population drops, because deer are the primary prey source for wolves. Mm-hmm. If the deer population goes up, then what happens? Well, the wolf population goes up with it. They're synced.
I also think that the big contributing factor in all that, because I do believe there's far more wolves than there are, and just based off of all the other states and the damage wolves have done, they do have a very big impact. But I think what's helping us, like I agree, I think that we're at the carrying capacity of the deer, but I think part of it's because we have less hunters. Mm-hmm. And there's just less people. I mean, we shoot 20,000 deer a year, hunters doing the UP. I mean, come on, that's insane. That's very low.
The wolves might take more than we do.
100% they do. So, yeah. I mean, there is that. There's far less hunting going on in here, too.
But, even in our present state, like we had a monster winter this last year, and everybody's like, oh, man, it's going to be bad. It's bad. It's bad. Well, I asked the guy, I said, deer that die in winter, how do they die? Mm-hmm. What do you mean? So what do they die of? What's the cause of death? Well, the wolves. I mean, no. Mm-hmm. Yes, wolves will eat deer in a deer yard, but the average winter killed deer died of what? Like, well, they starved. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So what does that tell you? You don't have enough to go around for the mouths that you have on the landscape. Mm-hmm. And that scares the hell out of people when I say we should be taking a few more does than we are, because we have to, at the end of hunting season, be below carrying capacity, because that maximizes the overwinter survival.
Right. And then you have a higher fawn birth rate, and then it's just a cycle of life. They regrow their deer and take care of them, then we reharvest them again.
It's never going to be 1996 again.
No.
And that, I think, is burned into people's minds, and they can't let go of it. Mm-hmm. And the reality is that our habitat is so degraded, we can't ever manage for numbers again. Mm-hmm. But we can manage for quality.
Right. And then that's where it should be at, is just trying to maintain what we have, but make it healthier.
But yeah, this all funnels back to deer dogma, right? And having these honest, open conversations with one another without tempers getting the best of us. And, hunters come from all different walks of life, all different backgrounds, but, a lot of us have a bit of an ego.
Yeah.
And I'll include myself in that statement, right? Like, what I know, and I'm going to stand on it. I'm sure you're the same way. Like, there's things that, hey, this is how I deer hunt. This is how I do things. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
and when you're going to have that discussion between two passionate guys, you better bring your A game. You better have some data points, because you're not going to move me easy.
Right.
But I think that having the broader understanding that in the end, we all want the same basic thing, which is what? Well, we want a flourishing deer herd, and we want a vibrant future for our hunting heritage. Mm-hmm. Broad spectrum, those are the two things we all want. Mm-hmm. How we get there is where we deteriorate, where we argue.
Right. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that with the groups here, with the disagreements of the 1 buck and 2 buck, and just in the UP we're talking. It's like, well, I mean, I'm sure they wouldn't argue that they want more deer and healthier deer herd, but it seems like in the moment they're just not willing to try to get there without altering the status quo.
So here's...
They're like, basically, it's like, look, bring it to the table, man. If you can make this deer herd bigger and healthier without getting rid of my 2 tags, I'll be on your side. Got to give a little, get a little, though.
Well, here's where I'm at. You've had... When did the current system go in place? 2008, I think it was.
Oh, you're talking our 2 tags? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 2 tags with APRs, the hunter's choice.
Before that, it was 4 tags.
Right? So we've had almost 20 years under the current system.
Yeah.
And we're seeing downtrends in every measurable metric of herd health. And we're unwilling to change.
Yeah.
That is the definition of insanity. And really what it comes down to, I'm going to be real with you. It is easier to point our finger of blame at the DNR for mismanagement and to point our finger of blame at the wolf or the black bear or whatever else, anything and anybody else but ourselves. It is easier to place blame than it is to look in the mirror and take responsibility and say, I need to do something. I need to be active and engaged. I need to take personal responsibility for my harvest choices. I need to be a better steward. I need to be a better conservationist. That is hard. Ownership and accountability is hard. And there's a lot of people that aren't willing to do that. Why? Because they're selfish. They're selfish. It's easy to stay the same.
Right.
It's easy to stay
the same. It is, yeah.
You know, change, I don't care what it is. Whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in your relationship with your spouse, whatever it is, change and striving to be better, that relentless pursuit of personal excellence creates discomfort. People want to be comfortable. That's human nature. We like comfort. And if Michigan deer management is going to change, if we're going to improve, we have to be really comfortable being really uncomfortable.
Right, yeah.
And guys aren't willing to do that.
I would agree with that. It's hard because you look at like how many hunter organizations are in the state of Michigan. There's like over 240 or something like that. And you're just like, how, I mean, so you're not telling me it's not a number of organization problem, right? We got them all, every one of them. But it is the unification, I guess, is the problem, and willing to accept changes.
Well, here's an interesting part. Do you know there is not a Michigan-based, statewide, deer-only organization?
No, I wouldn't have guessed it.
Now you have NDA, okay?
Yeah.
So they're national.
But you're saying not a single organization covering the entire state of Michigan representing whitetails only.
That is Michigan-based.
Yeah, I would say because you have whitetails, but that's
UP only.
Right, yeah. I was
UPSA, UP only.
Yeah.
You got a few sportsmen's clubs, but they dabble in a little bit of everything.
Right. Oh,
right?
Yeah.
You got Whitetails Unlimited, which is national. You got Michigan Bow Hunters Association, which they're engaged in all species. I mean, you very quickly run out of entities, and you realize that none of them are Michigan-based, statewide, deer-only advocacy groups, which to me is mind-blowing because nothing in the state of Michigan generates the revenue that hunting whitetail deer does. It's the flagship species of the state of Michigan, and we do not have a dedicated statewide Michigan-based organization for deer.
That is actually a good point. Because I was talking to Skip Sly about that. It was on the topic of bear, and he's like, I'm telling you guys, the whitetails obviously would produce far more commerce than, bear hunting. And that's a good point. What you're saying, this is the second time I've heard something like that. I'm like, that's a really good point. It is hands down the biggest, most sought after game in Michigan.
Been given a lot of thought to whether or not I want to go down that road of starting an organization. And, if I did, it would be a 501c4. So we would have access to the political tier of engagement. You can lobby, you can make contributions, you can do those kinds of things, endorse candidates.
And can you just explain why you would want to go that route instead of the 50 or the C3?
Well, you're going to have caps for what you can have in the bank with a 501c3, a nonprofit. I would like to have a significant war chest available that, if it was necessary, to legally challenge some of these horse crap rulings coming out of the commission, and to contribute to the campaigns of candidates for office, whether they're incumbent or whether they're brand new, who have proven and demonstrated that they are going to cast votes that are going to support our way of life and our values and our heritage. Elections have consequences, plain and simple.
Right.
And, who appoints the commissioners? Well, the governor.
The governor. Who appoints the... Go ahead.
DNR director.
Yep.
The governor, right? So you can't be one of these guys. Like, as a sportsman, you do not have the luxury of saying, oh, man, I don't want to be political.
Right.
Then you're screwed.
Right. It's 100% political.
It is political. And Prop G was a great idea. I believe right down in my soul in the founding principles of Proposal G and what the Natural Resources Commission was intended to be.
Right.
But what it is in practice is not what it is conceptually in 1996. Right. There's problems. There's huge problems. And I think those have to be addressed legislatively, which we can get into. But, I'm actively working through the particulars of a 501c4, and we're going to call it Michigan Whitetail Legacy. Having some conversations with guys about board seats, about, policy and procedure, how we're going to draft policy, positions on issues, all that kind of stuff. That's an ongoing discussion.
I mean, that's not a small feat, so that would take time. And, you definitely put in the dedication as far as proving yourself, I would say, just for what you've been doing. So, I mean, I don't think it would be difficult for you, but it would definitely be...
It's a big step.
It's a big step.
Yeah. So, the political arena.
Right.
That's the elephant in the room.
Where do we go from here?
Right. What's next? Where do we go from here? How do we fix this? Air quotes. So, I've been doing natural resources advocacy work related to deer and a little bit to wolves for over a decade. And most all of that time span has been largely as an independent because I just didn't care for the organizations. I didn't feel they were effective or that they were necessarily representing us the way I would want to be represented. So it's allowed me to carve a unique path, and in a way has been a huge benefit because there are tables that you sit at where people's ears shut off if you're representing an agency or a group because you're, air quotes, puking up the talking points.
Right.
Versus someone who's independent, unaffiliated like myself, they're more willing to listen because my thoughts and views are my own, as they say in the disclaimers.
Right.
And once you establish yourself and you establish your credibility, then the sky's really the limit as an independent. It's not as hard as people may think. Does it take time? Yeah. But if you spend the time, the results will be there. Politically, Michigan hunters are awful. Let's be honest. During the initial campaign that Donald Trump launched, what was it, back in 2015, I think was his original campaign.
Oh, you're saying first time? Yeah.
Yeah.
When he's 45, yeah.
Yeah. His campaign did demographics research on the relationship between hunters and voting. We are extremely low propensity voters. 64% of Michigan deer hunters aren't registered to vote as of
really?
As of 2024.
Wow.
Yeah. So in the context of our conversation here, you see who's winning.
Right.
And it ain't us because we're not at the table.
Right.
We're not at the ballot box. We're not at the meeting. We sit back and we opine, oh, man, the governor's awful and the commission's awful and the DNR's awful. Everything's awful and people are dumb and terrible. Well, did you vote?
Right.
Well, did you go to the meeting?
I do think Republicans are a little more prone to doing that over a liberal. And I've been guilty of it myself, saying, like, politics are screwed. Our country's screwed. Like, why would I go vote?
Right. Pissing up a rope here.
But then again, when it came down to it, when Trump won a second time, whether you support him or not, I'm just showing you, like,
Republicans came out and they're like, yeah, I guess you guys are right. We should probably just vote. And, saw it happen. So, wow.
So we are tremendously apathetic and disengaged. Mm-hmm. And this goes so much deeper than deer, obviously. I mean, this is the broader war for our hunting heritage and the future of our way of life. Mm-hmm. And you look at current events like what's going on in the state of Oregon.
Yes, actually, I'm going to pull that. I have it saved here. That was a big talking point that I wanted to bring up.
What a dumpster fire.
Well, that's what scares me about Michigan is like I look at who we have in office and the 8 years that we've been.
And it should scare you.
Yeah. But so what you're referring to, Jordan, is the Oregon Initiative Petition 28, IP 28. It's a proposed 2026 ballot measure that would drastically expand state animal cruelty laws by stripping away existing exemptions. It would effectively criminalize hunting, fishing, commercial farming, and livestock breeding. They're calling it the Peace Act, and they submitted over 126,000 signatures. It only required 117, so obviously it's met all those criteria. Politically, it'll go on their ballot, but they say that it doesn't, have a shot. But the fact that this is happening should sound an alarm somewhere. Somebody should wake up and say, "You're telling me like they actually got a ban on hunting on a ballot? Like that will be voted on, most likely shut down, but."
Let's pause there real quick.
I mean,
where's the population in Oregon?
Well, Portland.
And are they red or blue?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would say it's a little arbitrary to assert that it doesn't have a chance on the ballot. I think that's a dangerous.
No, I agree with you. I'm just saying the internet says otherwise. But
yeah, the Google gods.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm like, well, it's Oregon. That could actually happen. I think where they lost them, and I'm not trying to give PETA ideas here, whatever, but where they lost them was the farm animal thing. Mm-hmm. If they kept a few things out of there and said just hunting, just a ban on hunting, and Republicans didn't show up to vote, yeah, hunting rights would be completely gone in Oregon.
Right. That is Exhibit A.
Yeah.
For the dire consequences that can result from voter apathy and from disengaged hunters. Mm-hmm. That is Exhibit A. And don't sit in your chair as you listen to this and say, well, yeah, because Oregon's got crazies.
Right.
So does Michigan, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
So does Michigan. I mean, even right here in the UP. Mm-hmm. I go to Walmart up in Houghton. Mm-hmm. And there's purple-haired fruitcakes on the corner holding protest signs for whatever crap is going on. And get me started on that.
Right. No, the whole left agenda it's not just in southern Michigan. It is spread through the whole state.
Correct.
And I would not say that our state is any better politically than what Oregon. No. Yeah. So, yeah, I would say it's a very big risk that people are kind of ignoring, more or less.
There is nothing less than the future of our hunting rights and our heritage that hangs in the balance. Mm-hmm. It really is. And I think in the UP, we tend to be more apathetic and disengaged than anybody else because we have this false reality that once you cross the Straits of Mackinac, well, nothing can touch us here.
Yeah, I'm guilty of it. I'm not going to lie.
It's a pleasant lie.
It is. 100% it is.
Pleasant lie. We are very much impacted by the policies that come out of Lansing.
Yeah.
Love it or leave it. I mean, and there's people that are like, well, I don't care what Lansing does. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do me. And if I want to shoot $10 and 35 rabbits and keep 18 smallmouth, that's what I'm going to do, by God, because it's my right.
There is that aspect, too.
The Nugent slant, right?
Right.
And I'm not condoning that, not in any way, shape, or form. I think that game laws have their place. I myself try to be a law-abiding sportsman. Whether I agree or not, the law is the law.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And if the law is not repugnant of my constitutional rights, then I will obey it.
Mm-hmm.
But I would argue that if you ban hunting, that is repugnant of my constitutional rights.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
We're not impervious to that kind of insanity here in the state of Michigan.
Right.
We're not. I mean, you look back 2 years ago with the fiasco with the coyote season reduction. Boom, came out of nowhere. 3 months got knocked off their season.
That is true, yeah. And that did actually go through for a full season of having it closed.
So the MTPCA, Michigan Trappers and Predator Callers Association, paired with MUCC at the time, filed a legal challenge against the NRC. They lost.
Yeah.
They lost.
Which that's...
And there's some reasons why, but ultimately the important part is that they did not succeed in their appeal. Mm-hmm. And there was a lot of basically begging at the table with the ebb and flow of commissioners, and some of the commissioners were sympathetic, and now we had 3 months of coyote season restored under the guise of a management season.
Right, yeah.
Which is political BS.
Mm-hmm.
But now the SPCA, Attorneys for Animals, Chaplains for Animals, all these various entities and agencies that are far left have also sued. Mm-hmm. And that is currently in litigation. There's no guarantee that it doesn't get flipped right back on its head and no, we're taking away that 3 months.
Right.
That's actively going on. Michigan sportsmen, by and large, don't even know that's happening.
And I want to bring up that point, actually. So the reason why they're so successful, right? The left wing, I don't know if they call themselves the Humane Society or whatever they are, right? Anti-hunting. They're so successful because of the Equal Access to Justice Act. So if you've never heard of it, that's what's going on. And it was passed in 1980. It was a federal law. It allowed individuals, small businesses, veterans. I think it came along more lines of because of veterans when they came home from Vietnam. Mm-hmm. Is from what I've read, right? And public interest groups, right? There's the caveat. To recover their attorney fees and litigation costs when they prevail in court or in adversary adjudications against the federal government. So all you have to do is, if you are part of an organization, group, whatever, you go and you find a judge that will rule in your favor.
A sympathetic Ingham County judge, for example.
Right. And now the taxpayers pay all of your attorney fees. They advertise Humane Society, PETA, whatever they are. They have over 200 fully employed lawyers to do this. It is a complete 100% business.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So that's why anytime we've had a wolf season shut down in Michigan right away, that's what has happened. It's this act, this government act. So unless there's reform on that, it will be kind of very difficult to combat anti-hunting groups, in my opinion, unless there's reform on that. But I know there's probably a lot of other things that you're like, yeah, we need to reform this X, Y, and Z, right? But
well, part of the other reason that the left is so effective, they're united.
Well, there is that.
Right? It's as simple as, hey,
can't really argue that
all
one.
of my purple-haired friends who hate hunting, raise your hand. Everybody raises their hand,
yeah.
Right? Now, on
Michigan.
the deer side, I'm like, hey, everybody that wants better hunting in the state of Michigan, raise your hand. A lot of hands go up, right? But then there's a few that are like, well, what do you mean?
Right.
APRs?
All right, I'm
$1
out. Yeah.
Because I'm not down with that.
Right.
We're fractured right off the get-go. The
Okay.
left is not fractured. They are absolutely galvanized with each other, goose-stepping the whole way. Mm-hmm. And nobody breaks from the narrative. Mm-hmm. And I've seen instances where the left has mobilized against various hunting causes where they have got people from out of state by the thousands sending emails to the Michigan Natural Resources Commission.
Yeah.
We can't even get that hardly in the state. Mm-hmm. They're pulling people from out of state.
Yep.
It's incredible. The other thing is funding. Mm-hmm. I don't know what it is about the left. You know, you ever seen those episodes, those old episodes of like House Hunters, right? Mm-hmm. And there's this young couple, they're like 23, they're looking at a $3.4 million home in Savannah, Georgia or something.
Yeah.
Like, oh, what do you do? And she's like, oh, I babysit part-time. And the husband's like, yeah, I'm a gecko breeder.
Right.
Right. Like, what?
Yeah.
Where does this money come from? But the left seems to have a substantial war chest. Mm-hmm. And I think part of that comes from their unity. Mm-hmm. As I pointed out earlier, we don't even have a statewide Michigan-based deer dedicated group. We don't have it.
Right.
Like, we structurally are not even set up for success because we are not organized.
Mm-hmm.
We are completely disorganized. We're combative with one another. Like, they don't have to work to beat us.
Right.
We beat us.
Mm-hmm. So is there hope? Like I guess the way I would look at it, and hopefully you have a different stance on this, but I would say it would cause a very traumatic event to unite all the hunters, right? In comparison to PETA, right? Their unification is very strong. I would say it would take a very drastic event to occur to do that. What would that entail? In my opinion, it would be a bill coming forth on Michigan saying that we are closing all hunting seasons. Hunting is no longer legal in Michigan. And the way I look at it, I feel like that's like one of the only things that could unite us. That's a drastic stance, but
Well, let's talk about something very uncomfortable that is a real conversation right now. A lot of people may not know this. We've talked a little bit about the deer density problems down in Zone 3.
mm-hmm.
So there are areas where it's estimated that there's between 150 and 200 deer per square mile.
Which is pretty crazy.
Right. Considering under optimal circumstances, the best imaginable, like high fenced managed habitat, you're maxing out at 30 deer per square mile.
Okay, that's the same number I've heard, yeah.
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 So way beyond carrying capacity. And of course, there's all the resulting social issues with crop damage, with car deer collisions, all the does coming in and eating Karen's hostas over at the Lake House HOA,
Mm-hmm.
whatever the case may be. There's very real conflict there. Michigan hunters aren't shooting does, as we've talked about. And the DNR is bagged and pleaded, all these sorts of things. So how long does that go on before alternative methods start coming to the table? Well, they're coming to the table now.
Mm-hmm.
There's whispers of thermals and night visions and suppressors. There's whispers of year-round crop damage shooting in Zone 3.
Oh, wow.
Earn a second buck. That's the stick and not the carrot, right? Under the $1 system, we're asking you, gee, would you please shoot more does? And to incentivize that, we're going to take away $1. Earn a second buck, you're not getting another buck unless you shoot a doe.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, the framework is already in place for privatized industrial killing of does.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Because we as hunters, as conservationists, as stewards, aren't doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And it's only going to go so far before the powers that be step in and say, okay, well, you've had your fun, and now you're an obsolete tool as a hunter because you're ineffective.
Right.
So we've got this team of ex-law enforcement, ex-military guys that are qualified, vetted sharpshooters, and we're going to bring them in with M24s, suppressors, thermals, and we're going to clean house.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that won't happen. Because we're real close.
Right.
We are real close. We already employ sharpshooters, right, in your urban areas and things like that. So how unreasonable would it be to make the jump to a broader spectrum?
Mm-hmm.
When we as hunters lose our place as the primary management tool, we're finished.
Yeah.
We're absolutely finished. Because then the likes of PETA and Attorneys for Animals, all those left-wing organizations swoop in and go, see, they're not conservationists. They're not stewards. All they give a damn about is antlers. They're not shooting does. And here's the stats from the DNR that prove it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just killers. This isn't about conservation. So let's let the Doe Slaughter Inc. agency over here come in and kill all these deer and feed the poor people and feed the homeless and do all these good things because Michigan hunters aren't going to do it. And oh, by the way, what do you need your guns for again? Because
that's 100% what will happen.
it's a slippery slope, right?
It is, yeah. I mean, there's so many little factors that, as far as progressivism goes, it's not in our favor. I'll say that.
No.
And so, it's difficult because all you want to do is try and preserve what we have left, preserve our rights to hunt, preserve, rights for gun ownership, and we're losing numbers. Do we need more people hunting? Do we not?
One of the thoughts that I want to pose is that part of our apathy is that our generation, Ryan, we grew up reaping the benefits of some absolute giants of conservation that came before us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we inherited all the glory and all the good that came from the likes of, Teddy Roosevelt, from Fred Bear.
Right, yeah.
Giants who came before us, our fathers and grandfathers' generations, that set the table for all the things that we were able to enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
The reality is that our generation, mid-40s, we haven't done shit.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't. All we've done is coast on the goodness that we inherited.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't fought to preserve it.
Right.
And that's why we're losing ground. These things, they don't endlessly self-sustain. It's the Benjamin Franklin quote, right? We bequeath to thee a republic if you can keep it.
Right.
That's the important part.
You have to put the work in to maintain that, keep it alive.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. And it's like, as a man who served in the military yourself, your oath of enlistment, all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And it's the same thing here, right? Because we have, to some degree, enemies on home soil.
Well, yeah, that's been for a long time.
Right?
Yeah. And it continues to get worse. Sure.
But as hunters, we slouch back in our camp chair and we think, wow, those purple-haired loonies, they're just idiots. Don't pay attention to them. You better.
Mm-hmm.
You better. Because they're well-funded, they're well-organized. We are not. And on the national stage, there's some concerning things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And for people to believe that couldn't happen in Michigan, you're not thinking straight.
No, yeah, it's a concern of mine. I don't, whether we need more hunters or not, it would be awesome to have more hunters and trappers. I'd be all for it. Do I think we necessarily need them? I mean, a lot of things would have to change to have more hunters. What I think we need is more Christian conservatives.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree.
That's just countrywide, right? But I think, I don't know, to kind of wrap it up, I'll let you kind of conclude on it, but what is the biggest factor here? What is our most important thing? Is it showing up and voting? I never would have thought I'd say that, but.
So, again, going back to the many, many years of experience I have in this arena and the total dumpster fire that we endured at the hands of the Natural Resources Commission in May,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to waste another phone call, not another breath of my oxygen, talking to the Natural Resources Commission.
Rightfully so, yeah.
Because they have proven time and time again that they're not going to do what's right.
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to prioritize the resource, and their science is, rather fluid. The Natural Resources Commission, from my perspective right now, is nothing more than a layer of bureaucracy designed to deplete and exhaust the will of Michigan sportsmen to fight for conservation.
Mm-hmm. They're winning.
Well, we just brought arguably the largest grassroots movement since 1996 to bear on the commission,
Mm-hmm.
and they spit in our face.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the cold, hard reality. So does it work? Engaging the commission, sending the emails, making the phone calls, doing all the podcasts, doing the social media push, does it work? No. No, it doesn't. That's the proper way to go about engaging that body and participating in the process, but the process is what's broken.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't properly engage in a broken process and achieve a positive outcome. The process has to change. Well, how do you do that? Well, you certainly don't call the commissioner and say, hey, we really don't like the way you're doing business and making decisions, so what do you think we do things this way from now on?
Right.
That's not going to fly. So for me, going forward, my sole focus is legislative engagement.
Okay.
That's the seat of power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, who appoints these people? The governor.
Yeah.
You think the governor knows anything about deer hunting in the state of Michigan? No.
Nope.
And governors that are to come, likely not.
Correct.
So then how do these commissioners get picked? Well, the governor calls down to something like the State Senate Natural Resources Subcommittee and says, Chairman or Chairwoman so-and-so, Senator so-and-so, who do you know? Give me a deer guy. Oh, yeah, well, I know this person. Oh, okay. They're not vetted.
No.
There's no criteria. It's literally somebody that knows somebody that pulls your name out of a hat.
Mm-hmm.
And these are the people running our game agency.
Mm-hmm.
It's flawed from the start. And to that point, it could be someone who's an anti-hunter because there's no criteria.
Correct.
What says they can't?
Yeah.
You could have an anti-hunter sitting on the Natural Resources Commission in theory. It could happen.
Or the board of the DNR.
Correct. Yeah. The DNR director.
Director, yeah.
Right. So that being said, that's just one area that needs to be addressed, but the decision-making framework of the commission. We talked about this earlier in the podcast. They'll get off in the weeds about, the economics, the social impacts, the political impact.
Right.
They muddy up the waters with all their pseudoscience. Their mandate is biological and ecological science, nothing else.
So you're just calling for more or less reform to stick to what Prop G was intended for, or just reform the NRC in general?
Absolutely. We have to bring some common sense reforms to the process and procedure and protocols that the commission uses. And if we do that, my view is that we, in fact, strengthen Prop G. We strengthen our hunting heritage. We strengthen the Natural Resources Commission. I'm not on a mission to go out there and burn them down.
Right.
But I know enough to know that the way that we are operating cannot continue. And we have 20, 30 years of history as precedent that things are not going well with the Natural Resources Commission. So, again, that's my personal choice, my mission to engage legislatively and to make these proposals and to speak with those willing to listen, that we need to improve our processes, procedures, and transparency. Things like the Omnibus Amendment from David Nyberg. He crammed several proposed changes into one amendment. Well, where do we see that technique used? We use it in the legislature. We pork barrel stuff. We tie things people don't want to things people do. And, if I really want this money for the school for kids, then I've got to vote for health care for illegal aliens. Oh, great. That has no place in the world of natural resources. No place. That is 100% pure politics, which is completely repugnant of their mandate.
Right.
A common sense reform. You may not create an omnibus amendment. Each proposed change must be a line item change that is voted up or down on its merit individually. That's common sense. Things like the earn a second buck appearing in the dead of night 5 days before a vote. No.
Right.
That's not transparency. That's not integrity. It must be brought forward a minimum of 30 days prior to a vote for the public to review it. I mean, even on an agency level, you can't tell me that the commission had all the requisite data and information from the Department of Natural Resources or out-of-state game agencies 5 days beforehand to make an informed science-based decision.
Right.
No way.
There's not a chance. I get the idea of it was it was a good idea, the Prop G, and I think the intention was to have a group of people who aren't politicians. And that's exactly the opposite of what it is now.
Well, when you look at the kinds of people that are appointed, they're career bureaucrats, they're wealthy business owners, white-collar folks, ex-attorneys, a lot of attorneys. I don't think that really represents the rank-and-file Michigan sportsman. Those people aren't vested and invested in our way of life. And I'm not going to say that every flannel wearing, muck boot stomping Michigan sportsman should be able to be a commissioner. I don't believe that.
No.
But I think that in some fashion, we need to be represented on that body. In the same way that we need a qualified biologist on that body. Whatever, we're dealing with fisheries. I want somebody with fisheries biology experience on that body. We're dealing with black bears, same thing. Whatever it is. We have to reconfigure how the commission operates, how commissioners are selected, and their decision-making process. And if we do that, it can be successful. But that's a heavy lift.
Right.
And that takes political involvement, political engagement. And that is where Michigan sportsmen fail. That's where we're weak. You know, and a lot of guys I talk to are like, oh, Jordan, I mean, we get it, man. You live for this stuff. But that's not me, brother. Like, I love to hunt. I don't want to deal with the commission. I don't want to deal with talking to a senator. I don't even know who my senator is. There's some guys that say that. I don't know who my rep is. I just want to hunt.
Right.
As a sportsman, you don't have that luxury. Not anymore.
Right.
Not in the world that we live in. And political engagement is also conservation. Conservation doesn't end where the pavement begins. It just gets harder there. And that's what people forget. It's not simply the decisions that we make behind the trigger or behind the release out in the woods when we choose to harvest an animal or we don't. It's the decisions that we make out here. It's the decisions we make at the ballot box, whether we go to the ballot box.
Right.
It's the decisions about having hard conversations with other hunters like we talked about earlier, about being honest. We have to start being willing to do the hard things and getting out of our comfort zone and understanding that our mandate as hunters is a biblical one. You look back through the pages of the Bible, and in the beginning it talks about how God gave man dominion over the fowl of the air, the beasts of the field, the fish of the sea. Well, what does that mean, that man was given dominion? That means we were granted a divine charge to be caretakers, to be stewards, faithful servants. God said, here, this is my perfect creation I've given to you. Watch over it, use it, take care of it. We have literally a godly mandate of stewardship and conservation. And we're failing. The only way forward is political engagement. And again, guys are going to say, Jordan, I hate politics, brother. I don't get into that. I don't do that. You know, it's so divisive. It's so negative, and the conversations always turn. Well, I understand. I understand that, and the political sphere is highly polarized in today's world.
It is, yeah.
It's not easy to have those conversations, but we must. If we don't, consequences are simple. The clock's ticking. How long before Oregon becomes our problem in Michigan? I don't know, and I don't want to find out.
I can't agree more.
All I know is that if I am not in my legislator's ear, advocating for sound scientific policy, for reform of our Natural Resources Commission, for good appointments that reflect investment in our hunting heritage, if I'm not doing those things, I'm part of the problem. We've got to get out of our comfort zone, and we've got to do the hard things. Conservation doesn't end where the pavement begins.
Jordan, I want to thank you sincerely for coming on Wild Game Dynasty and having this conversation. It's exactly the kind of discussion that Michigan hunters need to be having. And the fact that you're willing to sit in that chair, take the heat, and keep fighting for the UP deer herd and for hunters across this state says everything about who you are. I kind of think you're the example of when someone stops complaining and starts doing something about it. You didn't wait for someone else to fix Michigan's deer management problems. You stepped up, you took a seat at the table, and you've been swinging ever since. And for the listeners, you know, whether you agree or disagree with every position or not, you cannot argue with the passion and the commitment behind this. Here's what I leave you today. The decisions being made right now in Lansing, those in our NRC meetings, Those in the backroom political conversations, those decisions are going to be determining what Michigan deer hunting looks like for the next generation. Not 10 years from now, not 20, but right now. And if Michigan hunters continue to stay silent, stay divided, and stay on the sidelines, those decisions will be made without us. Plain and simple. So here's your call to action. Make your voice heard. It's no longer time to be writing to the NRC. They've burned those bridges. It's time to start talking to our legislators. And for the love of everything we hold sacred about this tradition, stop fighting each other and start fighting for each other. The future of Michigan whitetail hunting is not guaranteed. It has to be earned by people like Jordan Hoover who are willing to fight for it, and by hunters like you who refuse to let it die on their watch. So, for everyone listening, thank you for being a part of Wild Game Dynasty. If this episode fired you up, share it, post it, get it in front of every Michigan deer hunter you know, because the more people who are informed and engaged, the better chance we have of getting this right. Until next time, get outside, stay passionate, and protect what we love. This is Wild Game Dynasty. We'll see you in the woods.
This episode is brought to you by GMK Logging. With GMK, your property can be transformed into a deer hunter's paradise, giving you a huge bump in success and real estate value. Give Greg Compo a call for a no-risk, no-cost assessment at 989-213-6499. Michigan Brand. Michigan Brand is a third-generation family-owned and operated business out of mid-Michigan. They are known for their world-famous hams, jerky, and various sausage products. You can find Michigan Brand all over the state of Michigan, as well as other states throughout the U.S. Check them out at michiganbrand.net to learn more. This podcast is brought to you by Wild Game Dynasty, a professional hunting outfitter and guide service. If you're looking for a world-class adventure in Michigan's premier outdoors, look no further. Book your guided hunt now with Gary Morgan at wildgamedynasty.com.